Hi, it's Maria, and today's video is called Doing the Right Thing. And so I welcome you, and I trust that you're going to find this to be an enlightening and eye opening experience. And I want to share with you how we can avoid family abusing family in what's known as legal abuse. Have you ever heard that term? I just think it's perfect because so many people have experienced that. And sometimes there just seems like there's no way out. I want to show you what to look out for. And I'm going to use my own situation, which many of you are quite familiar with from all of my Forgiveness to Love videos. I think all 60 some of them on mariahaiti.com and on YouTube. I think it's important to note because half of all marriages end in divorce, right? And then 3/4, 75% of subsequent marriages end in divorce. And then you have estate issues because virtually everyone has parents that or some family member that will leave them something, whether it's just a small memento or whether it's a fortune. But when it comes to leaving things to an heir, it seems as if people come out of nowhere and they want to argue about it and they want, the painting and they want this memento and they want that. And so people end up being on opposite ends of the courthouse arguing, like mortal enemies. And it just doesn't have to be that way. And those people that are on opposite ends of the courtroom are our spouse, our children, our siblings, our cousins, our parents, our most trusted confidants and friends. And so much of this mess, because it's like a toxic stew. So much of this mess can be avoided when we have a better understanding of what we can do about it to do the right thing. Because after all, it's all about doing the right thing, right? Because when we see someone who isn't doing the right thing, doesn't it just like really hurts us in our heart? And we think, oh gosh, why is that person just being so selfish? And that's not judging, but it's just commenting. And so we can do the right thing and we don't have to lie and cheat and forge signatures and perjure ourselves in court or manipulate documents. And so today I'm going to read to you from public documents filed in the Pinellas County Courthouse, where my mother and my father and the ex and the sibling and the son's names can be found. And it's, unless it's hidden, by they, them, and those. But at this present time, I've gone through and I've found the documents in court cases, in court proceedings that I had no idea had even transpired. And so this information, to the best of my knowledge, is available on the internet. I think you just have to register with the court, and then you can go in and get whatever information you want. As long as even if you don't have the case number, you can do it by the last name of one of the parties, whether it's the plaintiff or the defendant. And so my disclaimer is that I share my perspective on my life and those who've affected my life. And I tell you my truth and the truth of all my experiences related to this issue. And so I ask for your attention. I ask for your compassion and your understanding and maybe even your prayers. Because what I've seen has been so grotesque, yeah, that countless lives have been sacrificed in years, if not decades, of people sharing their stories in the hope that justice will prevail, like some type of justice, right? Yet I ask you, where is the justice? And who gets justice in litigation when you're prevented from having the expertise of an attorney, a lawyer, an advocate, a legal counsel? What else do we call it? An advisor, a mediator, an arbiter, a defender of any kind. And especially when, if you don't have representation, and then the other side is all beefed up with those who are well entrenched, right, in the local business community, philanthropic community, social community, government, whatever is available there. And so uh, the scale has to be balanced, because you can't have such a gross imbalance in the situation. And I've already been through one bogus defamation trial, which many of you have heard about, where there was false evidence and testimony that was used against me to get the most ridiculous win in the history of the United States. Oh my gosh. And that was with a judge who openly admitted to being friends with my ex-husband's family. So it wasn't even like a secret. It was just like, oh yeah, they're really my good friends. And I thought, oh my gosh. So that should have never been allowed. But when things like that are just kind of, they just go through without our being able to stop it. And then that kind of shapes the result, right? And so as it turned out, from my perspective, it was one huge PR stunt. And I don't want that repeated here, because that ruins people's lives. And in this day and age, we really need to rise above the sue happy mindset, right? Where we punish others for whatever reason, be it abandonment rage or jealousy, or we've all heard about narcissism, right? Or psychopathy. And so I'm going to tell you today much about my experience, where I was embroiled in the legal system for about 25 years. I know, it's hard to believe, really. I can't even explain it, actually. But it's 25 years and counting, because I'm still embroiled in it. And it is involving more states and more countries than you can possibly imagine. And so I'm embarrassed to even tell you that. And I'm going to share short snippets of topics revealing kind of an unbelievable story, right? That can help us when we're faced with those issues that need resolution. And by saying we, I mean collectively, but really, hopefully the information I share will help you be better prepared if you should be embroiled in anything like that. And so when we hold up a mirror, then we're able to see the flaws that have to be addressed before the infection spreads, right, to our children and to another generation. And so that's why it's important that when we see something that isn't right, that now is the time to stand up and tell the truth and share our concerns and fight for change, because that's the only way that we're going to get truth and justice and honesty and do the right thing. And that's what we all are here to do, is to do the right thing and to become better and more compassionate and more loving human beings. And if I can stress that enough, then at least I will have done what I think I'm here to do, which is just to not view the courtroom or any venue as an arena to fight and to try to take the other one down, because that hurts everyone. And so if we can all just, oh, sorry, I'm getting emotional, but if we can just all put our egos aside and try to do the right thing for everyone involved, then we'll have a better world, right? And so Plato, who is one of the greatest philosophers of all time, and he lived about 400 BC. And so what he said, which I like this quote, he said, those who are able to see beyond the shadows and the lies of their culture will never be understood, right? Let alone believed by the masses. And so I ask you to trust that we've risen above that mindset, right? Where human beings do see through the illusion to find the truth. Because quite simply, truth is all there is. And I know love is all there is too. And love and truth are really one and the same. And I promise you that I will do my very best to not cry and to help you see beyond the shadows and the lies that have clouded our dealing with the legal system. And we're going to get into some estate and probate issues so that you can see the truth, even if it is piece by piece. And I'm going to try to record maybe some short video pieces so that you can more easily watch whatever pieces you want at any particular time, whenever you want it. And that way it's more manageable than doing one long video. But we'll see how it goes, okay? And so at a minimum, you'll learn about forgery and perjury and fraud in estate litigations. And so this is kind of like a detective case where we see the deception, but we don't understand how it got there, right? And we don't understand how certain things just happen to happen in the case without our even being notified. And so as we kind of dig and we put on our Sherlock Holmes cap or whatever, we're going to dig deep, and we're going to find out exactly what happened, how it happened, and why it happened, okay? And so I share my truth with you along with personal details of my life. And so it's not about hanging our dirty laundry. It's truly not. I don't know any other way of trying to explain just how important this issue is unless I can give you firsthand examples. And so it's not about revenge. It's not about trying to hurt another person. I'm telling you the truth, my truth. And so it's my story and it's my perspective, just like we all have stories and we all have perspectives. And so only when the scales are balanced do we see the truth in the events and circumstances of life. And so believe me, I didn't embark on this journey with preconceived notions, of darkness or conspiracy relating to distortions of the process, the legal process. Or otherwise. But my eyes have been opened so wide, I really thought they were going to stick, to see how skewed the system is. But that's true I know we're focusing on the legal system, but that's true of any system, really. Any system that is financially driven. And what system isn't, really, when you think about it? And so today you're going to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly of what I've seen and heard and felt and observed and witnessed and experienced. And just when I thought I had it all figured out, someone would come into my life and shed more light on the darkness. And so then I had to backpedal for a broader perspective. And that really actually helped me, because the higher we go and we see things from a different perspective, instead of why are they doing that to me, it's like, why is this happening? What am I learning from it? What is the reason for it to happen? And so how can I become better for having seen this? And who can I help for having experienced this? And so if you can help just one person from your own experience, then you've really done a lot for this world, truly. I'm going to share everything that happens because it's really for our growth. And so by your hearing my journey, maybe you can avoid some of the pitfalls. And that truly is my wish for you. And so the scary part is that it just might happen to you, because estate litigation, gosh, it seems to bring out the very worst in people, actually. But players play their part in the drama we call life. And so if we can see it from that perspective, then we're way ahead of the game. And so I'm going to share the first names because there are thousands, maybe millions, I don't know, of people with the same first name. And so I'm not going to say their last name unless it just kind of slips out or I read it from one of the files, because I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, well, you just wanted to bash me in your video," because that's not true. This has nothing to do. I'm not a revengeful person. Or a vengeful person. I'm not doing it for that. And anyone can find this information. You know my name, and so if you can Google uh, family, right? You can Google sister. You can Google ex-husband. You can Google children. You can find out almost anything. And you can also get copies of the court records, the motions and orders. I have not been able to get any transcripts, though, I must say. And during my divorce, I got all of the transcripts. I mean, it was thousands and thousands of pages because it was 5 years. And it cost thousands of dollars as well. And I had it in my condo. And actually, I had analyzed all the court appearances, which there were over 365 of them. So it was actually over a year, over the course of 5 years, that I was actually in court. And then I cross-referenced it for perjury. And so it was mind-blowing what I was able to discern. But, since my home was taken and all that information was in my home, sometimes I can't help but wonder, is that why they took my home? Because there were so many things there that weren't right. But anyway, let's just kind of move on, okay? And we've all seen the Jim Carrey movie, Liar, Liar. And so, anyway, we're not going to go there. But the information I'm going to share with you is all publicly available. And I said that because we are living in a technological age of transparency. Thank goodness. There are very few things that we seek to find that we aren't able to find online. It's amazing, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing because we don't have to carry around big volumes of encyclopedias. Some of us remember that time, but we just use our phone and we get all the answers right in front of us. So I just wanted to say that virtually everyone that has been in my orbit to some degree was embroiled in a conspiracy. What I went through truly was a conspiracy, and it's still going on, actually. And it's a conspiracy of epic proportion. And it's truly, when I think about it, it is one of the most flagrant and disgraceful clusters of legal proceedings imaginable, lasting decades and involving hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent bystanders, rabid flying monkeys, flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz and the Wicked Witch of the West, where she had all these little flying monkeys that were doing all of her dirty work, and well-greased professionals in assorted arenas, in multiple states and even countries. Yes, that's how far the tentacles reached. And at its very core, I had to figure out the strategy of how they were going to thieve tens of millions of dollars, because it's shameful, and yet it all seemed like it was just such an innocent and benign masquerade, right? And it was play acting at its finest. And so it's kind of like, all right, bring out the Oscars and the Emmys and the Tonys and the Golden Globes. It's just ridiculous. Yet, as long as the truth is told, who cares how real someone's reality is? Because we know the truth, and we're going to keep digging until we absolutely understand the truth, and that it's brought to the attention of those who have the ability to right the wrongs, right? And so you see more and more people standing up to do the right thing. And so, although it seemed as if people were just some benevolent teamwork. People were just playing together, but they really cared about doing the right thing. It wasn't. It was very meticulously detailed, well orchestrated, and certainly well camouflaged series of events, with really vicious plots to harm, to sicken, yeah, to steal, and even to end the lives of honest, legitimate, and loving human beings. That's just how dark it was. And so I know it's hard to believe, and it's shocking at times, even to me, and I was living it. Um, and even, there were plots to harm our furry friends, right? Our little pets that we adore and that are so innocent. But when someone wants to create pain, what do? They go after those things that are most meaningful to you, your relationships, your loves, your pets, your children, your parents, your best friends, all of those people and things that you love the most. That's what they go after. And so, in my case, it was my writing because I love to write, and of course, it was always my puppies, my dogs, my family, and everything. But anyway, let's start with the the real details. And so, anyway, my name is Maria Haiti, and many of you know that from my series Forgiveness to Love, that's on YouTube and on my website mariahaiti.com, where I have, I think, over 60 videos uh, with specific topics about this whole and I was making those videos as this whole idea of exposing and figuring out exactly how things were happening. It was all unfolding. So it was eye opening at the time, and I couldn't wait to make those videos because I was like, oh my gosh, can you believe this happened and that happened and everything? And so now, after all of that, and then after going and reading all the court documents, excuse me, the court documents, it really has been an eye opening experience. Anyway, my name was Maria George, and I lived on Chicago's North Shore for over 50 years. Yeah. And I even raised my children in a little suburb known as Kenilworth on Chicago's North Shore. And so here I'm going to tell you parts of my story and just how the legal system failed me and failed other women that actually were in my little community of I think my suburb had 800 homes, and so it was quite small. So we all knew one another pretty much. And when you heard that someone was getting a divorce and someone was having this issue or someone was being sued, and then you'd hear about the tragedy. And so we don't want to focus on that. And I even went to law school, and so you can imagine how deeply saddened and shocked I was when I realized that my family of criminals could actually get away with so much trickery, and because I would have never believed that. And as they did that, they thieved assets that no way ever, ever, ever belonged to them. So it's not a matter of, oh, was this theirs? Was this not theirs? No, 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 no. They had absolutely no right to those. And so you're going to hear a detailed story of the facade that hid the deception, right? And the duplicity and the fraud that finally unearthed the puzzle pieces, right? That have been destroying countless lives. And so um, once we see through the betrayals and we finally bring them to light, then we can reframe them, right? And see things from a higher vantage point because we're all here to heal our pain and not create more of it. And so I ask you, I beseech you to come along with me on this journey. And I pray that you are able to gain some pearls, some golden nuggets of information that will help you at some point in your lives handle legal situations in a way that benefits you and that doesn't cause you more pain and angst. And so I know that for me, I had been sitting on this for years. just years and years waiting for justice because I promised my parents that I would pursue in their name. They were good, honest, loving people whose only crime was that they had amassed some pretty significant wealth. And so they were going to share that with their heirs. And so, how can you fault someone for that, right? And instead, they became sitting ducks for their spoiled and entitled family to sacrifice them for their money and their possessions. And I'm even, I can't even get the word out because it makes me so disgusted, really, with my family. But that's neither here nor there. And everyone, we all have our own path. And so if they hadn't been who they are, I wouldn't be here describing this to you and forewarning you on how to better handle your situation. So you see, just as William Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage and all the actors, they enter and exit and they all play their role perfectly. That's what we have here. So if you kind of detach from it and you see that this is like a film, this is like one of those movies, and so you can see how things are lining up. And so I was enmeshed in litigation for 25 years, and had I not been, I wouldn't have taken on this cause, that's for sure. But I was enmeshed in that little litigation by people who lived to thieve my home and my assets and my inheritance and my security and even my honor and even my spot on the planet, if you can believe that one. They wanted to snuff me out. That's really true. And so by kind of just deleting my existence from the planet, and I was just so shocked. I wrote presidents and vice presidents and governors and senators and United States representatives and mayors yeah, and city councilmen and police departments and sheriffs and FBI and additional law enforcement and government and media and more, because I was just at a loss. I didn't know what to do, and I just couldn't find help. And so I write and I email because that's the truth I share. And so sometimes truth can be so utterly unbelievable that at times you kind of question reality, right? And so many of you know that the media had a field day when they hung me out to dry for having the largest defamation, personal defamation judgment in the history of the country. And it was 9.7 million in 2006. And now it's over 50 million. And it even surpassed Johnny Depp's. Not that I want that claim to fame. Absolutely not. But especially when every word that I wrote was truth. I wrote about the secrets, though, that I knew that were true. And I shared those secrets because I feared for my life. So that was the bottom line. I wasn't just going to share those secrets. In fact, I'm one of the best secret keepers I know. And for years and years and years, I knew so many things and never shared them. But when I realized that I was being gang stalked and followed and harassed, and people were coming into my home and moving things around and poisoning my food and doing things to me that were just absolutely shocking, I knew I had to say something because why not? I mean, at that point, something. How can things be so out of control? How do we possibly allow such a situation to continue? It's not as if, like the media, they said, oh, well, here's this woman and she wrote this letter, and then the judge found her guilty, and she now owes her husband ex-husband nearly $10 million. So she's kind of unstable and she just has this vendetta out for him. Well, that's not at all true. And it was at the hands of a very high powered PR firm that kind of spread a lot of uh, that information, so that I would be viewed as, some ditzy woman who was just trying to ruin the career of her, loving husband who never wanted her to leave him to begin with. Well, that's just a lie. But and I was actually told that my ex-husband's godfather had put a contract out on my life. And so when you hear that and you realize you're living in a kind of the twilight zone, we have a duty to ourselves. We're here on this planet, I absolutely believe, to embody self-love. And if you don't stand up for yourself, who's going to do that? And I stood up for myself. I thought I did, and yet the judge didn't allow my letter to be presented into evidence, which I thought was very strange. The other side submitted a letter, but they didn't talk about any of the domestic violence that I had experienced in both the marriage and the divorce. And so, anyway, I don't want to get off target there, but the defamation judgment alone opened the door for my ex-husband to invade my inheritance. And that's what we're talking about here. It's the estate issues. And and the inheritance was what he wanted most in the whole world. And I had no idea, because he confessed during the honeymoon that he married me for my father's money, and that he didn't really like women all that much, if you know what I mean. And so he threatened to file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, hoping my father and I would just kind of give up and give him whatever he wanted. And we would have, actually, just to kind of get rid of him. But at the same time, what he wanted was everything. And so when you can't deal with someone like that, right? Some people are like that, actually. And here's an analogy where some people will actually take a grenade and throw it into a crowd of people, and yet then they run for cover behind a building, and they secretly watch everyone scream and yell in the bloodbath. And so that's kind of how I saw the situation unfold. And the insanity that we're talking about, and it's called legal abuse. And so many people suffer from it. And in fact, they have PTSD, and when they lose everything, and they can sink into a deep, dark depression. And sometimes when I see and I can think about this, I can see life to be kind of like a great big jigsaw puzzle, right? Where piece by piece, we fill in the empty areas of the puzzle, and then we see all of a sudden the whole picture comes to life. And that's when we're almost there. And we see the value of our journey and how we had to go through it. And it's kind of like a game of dominoes, because you can't just go all of a sudden to, the 27th or the 30th or the 55th domino in the series. When you line them all up, you have to go step by step by step by step. And every domino has its place in line. And so that's kind of how I see our journey really on this planet. And certainly litigation, it's a step by step, even though we don't necessarily see it unless we're legally trained. And even then, we don't see it. And so I'll tell you, in 2010, I was living on the beach in Clearwater, Florida, and my parents were alive, and things were status quo. Yet I could feel like this tidal wave just kind of inching its way to me. And so I began interviewing attorneys to represent me in case something was going to happen, because I could just feel it. I could feel the animosity, and I could just feel it. The darkness was just becoming suffocating. And so I interviewed 30 or 40 attorneys. And when all 30 or 40 of them turned me down, my anxiety registered on high in disbelief. And finally, an attorney told me that not one attorney in the entire state of Florida was allowed to represent me. And I thought, oh my gosh. So I had to pick up my jaw off the floor. And quite honestly, I just wasn't able to process anything quite so corrupt, right? Even with my 5 years in divorce court, where I had been lied to, lied about, cheated, abused, betrayed, defamed, taken to the cleaners, and then in no uncertain terms, thrown away. And everything was taken from me, including my 4 beautiful children. Actually, 3 children. Well, yeah, I guess the fourth one, he also was taken. And yet, it was a real learning experience. What can I say, for everyone involved, as is everything that we experience. So we have to see things from a higher perspective and understand that it was something that maybe our soul wanted us to learn. We were to detach from so many things that we find absolutely, necessary, right? In the material world. Oh my gosh, sometimes people say, "Oh, I couldn't live without that," or "Oh, I couldn't live without that." Well, listen, baby, because you can live without things, and it's a good test. Try to do it, because you didn't come in here with it. You're not going to leave here with it, and so grow, become a better version of yourself, and give to others and help others, because that's what we're here for. And so when I walked down the halls of the courthouse, I saw men and women, fathers and mothers, losing not only their children and assets, but even their minds. And I thought, my gosh, what are we doing to ourselves? Like, this is nuts, totally nuts.